Shocking overnight, workers at the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, in Washington were told to stay home this morning. The main office closed. They received an email shortly after midnight telling them, don't come in. This is the latest development on the future of USAID after both President Trump and, maybe more importantly, Elon Musk said it needed to be shut down.
It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
All right, let's get to CNN's Jennifer Hansler at the State Department for the latest on this. You helped break this news about the email overnight. What have you learned?
Well, John, this is just the latest in a string of developments that indicate that Trump intends to abolish the U.S. Agency for International Development. We had that notice that went out overnight to employees not to show up to headquarters. You heard those comments from Trump. And as you noted, Musk has also demonized the U.S. Agency for International Development. He has played an outsized role on this administration's decisions on federal agencies. And he hosted a Spaces on X overnight to go after the agency, criticizing it for alleged misuse of funding. And he said that Trump had agreed that it needed to be shut down. Take a listen to what else he said.
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms. And so at the point at which you don't merely, like if you've got an apple and it's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a ball of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a ball of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing.
So I should note, John, that he didn't provide a lot of evidence to these claims, but it is the latest signal that USAID is in the administration's target site. Now, Democrats say the abolishment of the agency would not be legal because it was created under statute. It is an independent agency, and they say that Trump cannot just unilaterally choose to fold it under the State Department, which is what his intention is reportedly to be. Now, the State Department has not commented on the developments, but we do also see a number of other troubling signs. Over the weekend, we reported that there was an incident involving DOGE employees from Musk's office, and they went to try to access USAID, and they were blocked, and officials were put on leave for trying to block them from accessing classified information, John.
All right, Jennifer Hansler for us at the State Department. We'll have much more ahead also on USAID and who depends on that funding in those workers. Thank you so much for your reporting on this.
We set up DOGE.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
A war is underway inside the federal government. On the one side, you have Elon Musk, of course, the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, tasked with eliminating trillions in government spending. On the other side, you have career civil servants standing at times quite literally in his way, and they're paying the price. One senior Treasury official suddenly resigning on Friday after DOGE members tried to get access to the Treasury Department's payment system. With that official out of the way, Elon Musk and DOGE now have access to that system. What does that system do? It handles the sensitive information it's your sensitive information, American taxpayers' sensitive information, and it conducts payments, cuts the government's checks for $5 trillion every year. That's Medicare payments, tax refunds, Social Security checks, all of it. And then there was another showdown taking place on Saturday night, typically not a hotbed of activity for the government. Two top security officials at the U.S. Agency for International Development are now on leave because they attempted to block DOGE officials from gaining access to restricted systems. Sources telling CNN that DOGE officials went to the USAID headquarters. They were trying to access security systems and personnel files Two of their sources also confirming to CNN, DOGE officials also wanted access to classified information. The members of DOGE threatened to call the U.S. Marshals, and they were eventually able to access USAID headquarters. Stephen Collinson, big picture here, these scenes, right, of these government officials trying to follow the law as it is currently written, trying to stand in the way, clearly losing these fights. What are the implications? I mean, this Treasury system, it's banal, but it includes the information of anyone that interacts with the federal government. Certainly, they've got my social security number.
Well, we found out last week what happens when you do a radical reform, in inverted commas, to the federal government with that freeze in spending, which caused absolute chaos. And at times like this, you see what exactly the federal government does. Of course, there are also ethical questions, because Elon Musk is the recipient of billions of dollars in contracts with the United States government.
And so are his competitors.
Right. So, but it doesn't seem that ethics are a huge priority of this administration. But what you're seeing is the stripping away, as Donald Trump promises, of vast layers at the top of all these bureaucracies, because he believes, as you were saying with regard to the FBI, that the government was an impediment to his agenda in the first term. How much of this is legal? How much of it is fair enough because he won an election? I think we're going to see what the dividing line is there.
The Trump White House's view is that the executive branch essentially is a business where he should be able to hire and fire whoever he wants. That is like their view, and there are obviously laws that contradict that. And they're going to challenge those in court. And you can expect it to go all the way up to the Supreme Court to see they're going to try to expand as much of that ability to hire and fire people as possible. The only other little thing I noticed in there, a little tension between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Elon saying it's over, he's already agreed to shut it down. Trump saying, well, we're going to get the top people out, and then we'll make a decision.
Yeah. Matt Gorman, can you explain why Elon Musk is so focused on USAID?
Not in USAID in and of itself. Look, and I will say this, Trump in his first term fired the head of USAID, the temporary one, Bonnie Glick, at that point. And so he's had machinations around this before. When it comes to USAID, I don't exactly know. It might be more the foreign aid question, specifically than anything else, to Stephen's point, right? That was before. Look, and I think the Trump administration believes, and I think to this extent rightly, is that Congress cannot make an agency, no matter how independent it actually is, a part of the executive branch, yet exempt it from executive branch control. Now, to Alex's point, define control. Exactly. Is it the top people, as case you point out too, with the FBI, political appointees, top officials, or again, both Elon Musk and these people at USAID are both unelected, but only one of them, Musk and DOGE, is empowered to actually make these changes. So if you're somebody who's working at USAID or any agency, that's fine. You can disagree. You can, stand athwart in the doorway here, but you don't have the right to disobey, essentially, the head of the executive branch, which, again, whether you like it or not, it is Donald Trump. And I think that is a question here these folks will answer, and it certainly will be a question for the courts.
But I think we're missing here a bigger picture of what some of these agencies do and the impact that they have. USAID spends $2 billion on food in the United States. They buy food from farmers. That is going to greatly impact small farms. They spend over $1 billion in small businesses here in the United States that they then distribute. Also, they don't move money without the approval of Congress. So there's a lot of people who are impacted here in a lot of ways that are going to ripple out here for what? Like, what is the purpose of doing this?
No matter how altruistic the objective is, it doesn't change the organizational fact that it is still under the executive branch control. And you're absolutely right. Congress appropriates the money, but the executive branch does actually determine how to spend it. And that also includes the people, the organization, HR, for lack of a better term.
So I totally hear what you're saying. I guess I just don't understand why we are trying to impact all of these Americans and all of these different people's lives for what? What is the point here? So Elon Musk can take out someone that he doesn't like, or that they can say that they're getting rid of spending. USAID. I
think it's exactly the last part.
But USAID's budget is 0.7%. Like, that is not going to solve any budget woes here.
But I think that's not the point, right? Whether it's 0.7% or 700% of whatever, right? It's the action in and of itself.
But to Megan's point, there are going to be real human costs to this 90-day pause, and and spending abroad. A lot of these programs need constant funding, and you could see some humanitarian, mini crises if that, if the money doesn't start back.
Well, we haven't even touched on kind of the national security implications around American soft power being projected in the world. And we can obviously argue if they're doing it effectively, but that's kind of the point, right? I mean, that's part of why Kennedy put the USAID into existence in the first place.